The 80s, a big decade for hair, music, and, vaccines? Yep, that's when Congress created the National Vaccine Program, and what used to be 6 standalone shots were combined into 2. I know this because of another gift of the 80s, the educational video. So here's another one any person who has questions about vaccines should watch. Getting a vaccine is a lot like brushing your teeth. We're not legally required to do it, but we're all so much better off if you do. So why do only 84% of Americans think you should vaccinate your kids? And why does 49% of the country as of late September say it probably won't get a COVID-19 vaccine? One word: misinformation.
I think that we've seen an increase over my 13 years in vaccine research, especially through the spread of social media and online.
I only have a Bachelor of Arts, so I've enlisted the help of Dr. Kausar Talat from the Institute for Vaccine Safety at Johns Hopkins to debunk 4 common misconceptions about vaccines and set the record straight. Misconception number 1. Flu shots give you the flu.
That's not true. So the flu shots that we have now are killed. Most of them, the vast majority of them, they're particles of the virus. There's no actual virus in them that can give you influenza. We do sometimes have sore arms after we get the flu shot, and we can sometimes feel sore and achy for a day or 2, but that's not the flu.
What is true is that the flu vaccine is more effective for some than others, and it can vary from year to year. So, some people may still get the flu after getting vaccinated. But even then, studies show getting a vaccine often significantly reduces the severity of the virus. And when people feel sick after getting the flu vaccine, for instance, it's because of this.
Because it's given in the fall and winter when we normally get colds and flu. And so people will attribute their symptoms to the vaccine, but the vaccine cannot make you sick.
Misconception number 2. Vaccines cause autism. This false claim first gained steam in 1998 when an English researcher published a paper in a medical journal that suggested the measles vaccine caused autism in children.
That's a really unfortunate linkage. The person who came up with the idea of linking vaccines to autism about 30 years ago actually had no evidence of that. He made up his data, and that has been retracted by the journal.
Not only was the sample size small, just 12 people, but when the paper was published, 90% of all children in England received the measles vaccine. So the likelihood of a child with autism in England also having received the measles vaccine was, well, 90%. But that doesn't mean one caused the other. It's like saying using the phone on the toilet causes men to leave the toilet seat up after they pee. When 75% of Americans admit they use their phone on the toilet, most chronic toilet seat lever-uppers are bound to also be toilet phone users. But one does not cause the other.
We have spent 30 years researching vaccines and autism, and there has been no link found between any vaccine and autism.
Misconception number 3. The side effects aren't worth it.
All vaccines have side effects. They all have adverse events. Occasionally, a vaccine can cause a fever in a baby. In adults, most of our vaccines just cause sore arm or maybe a little bit of fatigue.
If you think about it, everything has a side effect. Wearing a seatbelt has a side effect. One side effect is feeling constrained, but being constrained for 30 minutes is much better than being dead.
And we also know that the side effects that the vaccines can cause are much milder than the disease that the vaccine is meant to prevent. So I think part of it is we've forgotten what vaccine preventable diseases are and what they do. We don't see kids with polio anymore. We hardly ever hear about the measles in the news. And these are diseases that killed and disabled lots and lots of people all over the world. My father was born in the 40s before there was a vaccine for polio. So my dad was paralyzed as an infant, and it took him until he was about 5 years old to be able to walk with assistance.
Misconception number 4. Whether I vaccinate my kids is none of your business.
And that is completely untrue because we live in a community where we're surrounded by people with all sorts of health issues and medical problems.
It helps to remember why the concept of a vaccine was invented in the first place, to prevent the spread of a wildly contagious, deadly virus, smallpox. The smallpox vaccine prevented infection in 95% of those vaccinated, and eventually eradicated the virus. And it's why many public health officials believe at least 70% of the population needs to be immune to the coronavirus to stop its spread. As globalization makes it easier for people from all over the world to interact, vaccines become even more important.
If only some of us accept the vaccine, then there are still incredibly vulnerable people who are not protected, and we'll continue to see deaths. And there are babies who are too young to be vaccinated, older people whose immune systems have really weakened, and so even though they may have been vaccinated, they can't protect themselves the same way.
Mark from apartment 6 not getting vaccinated shouldn't be any of my business, but it is. How many people in my apartment complex get inoculated could spell life or death for me. Oh, and one last thing. As scientists race to develop a COVID-19 vaccine, you're going to see a lot of these headlines.
So the pause is the trials doing the right thing. And it happens all the time in clinical studies. The thing is, it doesn't usually make front page news or breaking news on my alerts on my phone. I get, phone alerts that this vaccine has been paused, but that's normal. And it's just, they're doing exactly what is right and taking the time to look at the data to make sure that it is safe to resume.
Hi everyone, Fernando Hurtado here. Thank you for checking out the NBCLX YouTube channel. For more videos, click here. And be sure to click the subscribe button right here and join the NBCLX community.